for this next Peer Perspective series. I'm Jen. I am the Hope for HIE social work. As always, as a reminder, just that any information that you get from these series is not medical advice. It is simply a parent sharing their insight into their journey. Today, we will be talking about dyskinetic cerebral palsy. Dyskinetic cerebral palsy is just a type of cerebral palsy, but it is caused by damage to the basal ganglia portion of the brain. The basal ganglia is part of the brain that's responsible for regulating voluntary movement. So with that said, when there's damage to this section of the brain, it leads to more involuntary muscle movements and just making it more difficult to control posture and coordination. So when you take it a step further, if there's particular spots within the basal ganglia that have been damaged, you can have more particular diagnoses like dystonia, which would be more of a slow and twisting repetitive movement, chorea, which is fast and jerky, and athetosis, which is uncontrolled and writhing. Today, I have Shawn with me, who is a parent who has a child with dyskinetic cerebral palsy, and she is going to just share a little bit of her journey with us. Thank you, Shawn, for being here. You will probably hear her talk about some of those more specific diagnoses when she does talk about it. So I guess to not hold us up any further, Shawn, would you like to just start off by introducing yourself and a little bit about your journey, early symptoms, who you reached out for support?
Okay. So my name's Shawn. I have a son who's 9 years old who has this type of CP, particularly with dystonia is what we mostly see with him. So our story starts 9 years ago with some issues at birth, and he spent 2 weeks in the NICU and then got an MRI, which of course was not explained to me. And later on, probably actually months later, 3 or 4 months later, I requested records from the NICU, and in those records are the MRI results, and that's where I really started to read about his specific type of brain damage and got on Google and started figuring everything out, which is also how I ended up finding Hope for HIE, the group. So, so for us around, sometime probably between 4 and 6 months old, we kind of already noticed more stiff movements, and he would do this thing with his arm where he would pull his arm back a lot when he got excited, things like that. So we were already set up with a neurologist from the NICU, which I didn't like. So I switched neurologists to a completely different hospital. And in doing that, so he was about 6 months old when we actually got the CP diagnosis. I don't remember when it got to be a more specific diagnosis. I don't even know if it was really kind of announced to us. I don't really know when that happened, but I knew he had cerebral palsy from about 6 months old. So, and we still see the same team of neurologists and now physical medicine. We go to Texas Children's Hospital, and that's where we are today.
Wonderful. Thank you. Speaking of physical medicine and rehab and stuff, can you talk to us a little bit about some of the treatments, medications, therapies that you've tried over the years? Has anything worked particularly well or not so well?
For the dystonia in particular, not a whole lot works or has worked for us. And what I've been told, at least from our doctors, is that they just kind of try to see if things work. A lot of it is medication that's similar to for Parkinson's, for adults. But for us, I didn't really notice a difference. He is on medication for spasticity, things like baclofen, clonazepam. He's been on both of those for several years, and I do think that helps some. But otherwise, he's in every kind of therapy, physical therapy, occupational therapy, speech therapy that he does weekly, which I mean, it's a lot of stretching, which is more for the spasticity, not necessarily for the dystonia. I think as he's gotten older, some of it is a little bit more manageable, only because I feel like not that he controls his emotions, but like for dystonia, so for him, we see it mostly when he's really excited. And of course, he gets excited all the time, but he's also older. So not everything is like as excitable as it used to be. So I feel like some of it is kind of toned down a little, but I don't know that it's necessarily behavioral, but it's kind of hard to explain. But I don't think any, to be honest, I don't think any specific therapy or medication has really like helped to control the dystonia for him, at least. But we still do all of the physical occupational speech just to like maintain his function
And
and
are those more just the traditional physical therapy, occupational, or have you ever done intensive therapies or anything like
when
that?
he was younger, probably less than 3, I think, or maybe 3 to 4 at max. When he was younger, we did a couple intensives. We did I forget what it stands for. NDT, oh shoot, I don't remember what it stands for. NDT, which is like a specific type of physical therapy, or like they can be trained in NDT. Oh, I can't remember what it stands for. But that was a specific like type of therapy that we did. I remember looking into all kinds of things when he was, especially like less than 1 or like in that first year or two. But yeah,
Like any of those alternative therapies,
yeah,
massage therapy,
yeah.
aquatic, have you tried any
Oh,
of
yes,
those?
he did aquatic therapy. Yep, he did that when he was younger,
Okay.
probably again till about ages 3 or 4. He did do aquatic therapy. Oh man, it's like so much. I forget already. It's been so
I
long.
still, it's been a 9-year journey thus far
Yeah,
and
but yeah, he
continuing to
did do
go.
aquatic therapy, which he loves the pool. I mean, we don't really do therapy in it anymore, but we have a pool in our neighborhood, and he loves the pool, and it does kind of help relax him a little bit. So, I mean, I guess it helps a little bit, but in general, it's not really taking anything away, I guess. So,
Okay. Wonderful. Well, thank you. So, how about let's kind of change assistive devices. Does your son use any kind of assisted devices or technologies? I know when we prepared this, you had mentioned that you didn't feel like they were really any different than some of the other devices that children with just cerebral palsy would use. But
mhm.
have you used anything? Is there something that you're looking into trying to get for him?
Mm, not specifically for that type of cerebral palsy. I mean, he has a communication device.
Okay.
He uses a PRC accent, which is and for him it's eye gaze. So he uses his eyes to communicate with his computer, and he's excellent at it. He speaks in full sentences. He does all of his schoolwork on it. He can use the calculator on it. He does all of that. So he could access the internet if he wanted to. So yeah, I mean that's his biggest assistive device aside from the normal like wheelchair and things like that, leg bracelet. Like he's got all kinds of devices, but yeah, because a lot of times I think I guess with the basal ganglia damage, it's mostly with his movement, and so cognitively he's a 9-year-old. He's in a regular third grade classroom, and he's smart. He reads, he does math, um, he loves to interact with people. So like cognitively, he's just on track.
Wonderful. So have you had to do any kind of like accommodations for him, or have you had to advocate for him in any way to get those kind of accommodations?
Oh yeah. So
What
he
is
didn't
that
start
like?
school. I didn't put him in school until he was in kindergarten. So I did not do preschool. I thought about it, but they automatically wanted to put him in the what do they call it? like the special education preschool program. I can't remember the exact term, but they automatically wanted to put him like in um, that classroom and not with the other pre-K 3 or pre-K 4 children. And I was like, no, you're not going to do that. So, and they really didn't want to budge. So I just said, okay, well then I won't put him in school. I also live in Texas, so I don't know about other states, but I'm not required, and no child is required to go to school until they're in first grade. So I knew it was optional, and like pre-K is not required. So I just didn't put him in. And thankfully we have an Easter Seals daycare not too far from us. So I already had him in a daycare where he was with his typical peers. And they were wonderful, and he learned things in daycare, and he had his device almost at that point. He got his device when he was, I think, late 3 or maybe 4 years old. And so I just kept him in daycare and then started him in kindergarten. And so in kindergarten, the same thing happened. They told me, okay, like they basically heard he was in a wheelchair. They hadn't even met him. They just talked to me on the phone, and they basically were like, okay, well, he's in a wheelchair, so he's going to be in this classroom. And I was like, no, he's not. Like, I'm not going to agree to that. So I kind of didn't know, like when you transition out of early intervention, which for us in this area was Easter Seals, when they transition you to the school at 3 years old, like when you basically get age out of the early intervention and you move to the school system, I didn't know a whole lot at that time. Like I didn't know that I could refuse to sign. I didn't know that I could, I didn't know. I just thought like, yeah, that's what you say. So I just signed it. I mean, like so I signed the IEP, their little program for him, which basically stated that he would be in the special education room for preschool is what I was signing at the time. But I thought, well, I'll just sign it. I don't care. I'm not going to send him anyway. So that's what I did. I just signed it. And then, but, come kindergarten, which was actually a different school district because we moved at that time. So, but basically they just transferred the IEP. They just moved it. They just sent it to the new school district. And so they basically just used that and said, well, this is what he's in. And I'm like, no, I don't want that. So then I had to hire an advocate, which I don't even remember how I found her. Probably Facebook. I think I asked parents around in the area who they recommended. And I got an advocate who helped me fight for putting him in general education. Oh, I also got him retested because I think when they first tested him, if I remember right, he didn't have his communication device. So they were testing a 3-year-old that could like communicate with his eyes. I mean, that's it. It was basically like yes or no questions. So it wasn't really a true assessment. I mean, even with the communication device, it's not a true assessment because he can't physically do a lot of the things that are on that evaluation. So it's really not an accurate determination of what he's capable of. So anyway, so we got him reevaluated because like at 3 years old, they wanted to say he had an intellectual disability. I'm like, he's 3. How are you even know? Like, what are you talking about? But it's because he couldn't answer. He couldn't prove that he wasn't because he didn't have the ability. So anyway, we retested him, and basically through that advocate, I was able to get him into general education. So he was in a regular kindergarten classroom with a one-to-one aide. I knew he was going to need the one-to-one because he's in a wheelchair and he has to be physically moved around the educational environment, and he can't, he can't access the curriculum without somebody helping him. His hands don't work well. He can't hold a pencil. So basically that one-to-one aide became like a scribe for him. So he could say the answer on his screen. And so it's like a spelling test. Even now, he spells it out on his screen, and whatever he spells out is what the aide writes down on her paper or his paper, that he turns in for grades. And that's how he gets like work done. He does do some things actually on the computer, but like things like that, that's what the aide is for. And I also argued a lot for like his safety because, well, how can he be in a general education classroom without somebody there besides the teacher to, what if there's a fire? What if there's a lockdown drill? What if there, like you have to have somebody just dedicated just to him. So anyway, so I was able to get that through the advocate. And once that happened, um, it was good. And we actually moved again. And so we had to move him, same school district, but he was zoned to a different elementary school at that point. And so once I moved to the current elementary school that he is in now, which was in his first grade year, there's a really wonderful, I just got lucky because there's a really wonderful diagnostician there, and she really advocates for him. And I think they've really realized like how much he does know and how capable he really is to do the work. Um and thankfully that his communication device is, I feel like, the biggest reason why he's able to go into that class, because he's nonverbal. He doesn't speak. He can kind of not nod yes and no and like kind of communicate with his eyes, but otherwise he needs that device. So because of that, yeah, he's doing great. He struggles with things. There's, when they present him with this big page of like 5 paragraphs to read, he struggles because, other kids use their fingers to like keep track of the word they're on. And, like kids that age, they're still learning. And he can't use his finger for that. And so, like little things like that, he struggles with. But like for math, that's an accommodation he has, that he's allowed to use a calculator, because he can't, again, with your fingers, he can't use his fingers to count 25 pennies. Like he just has to look at it and remember which one he's on. And so, like even as adults, like if you threw a bunch of pennies in front of me, I would use my fingers. I would move them to the side and count one by one how many pennies there are. And he can't do that. So,
Most
so like
definitely.
little things like that, he's allowed to use a calculator. So he's allowed to, now they're learning multiplication, and he does, have to memorize the timetables, but he's also permitted to use the calculator. So like that's one of his accommodations. Longer time to take tests, things like that, because he tires really easily, because an eye gaze device is very tiring. It's like being on a computer for 12 hours a day, because that's what he is. He's on a computer for 12 hours communicating. So that's been, but it's good. He loves school. He's got so many friends. He claims he has a girlfriend. Which is a little girl in his class. She's just a sweetheart. She's really good with him. And yeah, so he loves school. So it's been so far a good experience overall. I don't know, what the future will look like with middle school and high school, but we just take it one year at a time, and I don't know, figure it out.
Well, he's lucky to have you as his mom and an advocate that you got him that far, because who knows if you didn't push the way you did. So that is wonderful. So it sounds like you have built a little bit more rapport, and you have your supports within the school. What other supports make up your full support system? Like, do you have formal supports, informal? Who are your go-to people for life and managing your child with HIE and CP?
Well, yeah, the school, thankfully they love him, and they're really good with him. We have our usual therapists that I feel like we're sisters and brothers at this point. Like I know all about their families, they know all about mine, because I see them multiple hours a week, every week. Like it's like working with them. Like they feel like an extension of my family part of the time. But otherwise, well, this group, the Hope for HIE group, I've always looked at as support. Even though you don't know or necessarily know people in person. I have met a couple over the years that I've actually met in person, and that's been nice. It's just nice to know that even though we don't live anywhere near each other, it's just nice to know that there's other people out there that understand and that get it. And otherwise, there is a local group here, like an organization. It's called Capable Kids, and it's just a local thing where they put on programs and it used to start. It was like they would have a Easter party, they would have a Christmas, like an Easter egg hunt, they would have a Christmas party, they would like where anybody with any child with a disability can like come and participate. And they do and they would have it at they would host it at parks where there's actually adaptive equipment and swings and playgrounds and things like that, or they just like organize this whole event with all disabilities in mind, physical, mental, I mean, any kind of disability. And they do have sporting events, like they did basketball, and they had, the kids who were in wheelchairs or used gait trainers. That was one league, like the rock and rollers, or I forget what they call them. And then they have others that are more mobile kids. Anyway, so we do events with them when we can. And that's also been a way to meet people. But I live in way South Texas, so a lot of things are really far from me. Now that he's older, I've started to put him in like camps. We haven't done like week-long camps or anything yet. I don't think he's ready for that, but we've done like family camps where it's like just the weekend. You go Friday, you come back Sunday, and you, but it's at accessible places, accessible camps where they already have all the modifications and things that you need to participate in everything, horseback riding. We have in San Antonio, Texas, there's an amusement park called Morgan's Wonderland, which everyone should go to. It's for the child with the disability gets in for free. And it's just the whole entire park, all the rides, the Ferris wheel, the merry-go-round, everything, their playgrounds, they have splash pads. It's all designed for people with disabilities in mind. And anyway, they also have a camp. And so at that camp, they have like a zip line feature that like goes way high, like above the trees, zip line. And he can get on it with me. And they have like a ropes course, and they just have everything, but it's all modified or able to be modified to where he can do it too, even though he needs like total physical support. So we love going there. And the whole family comes. So it's my other children can play with him and do things with him. And so we definitely have used that and met people through there also. And then other supports. I mean, we don't have a lot of, my family is not in Texas, so I don't really have a lot of family support, like physically here. And yeah, I mean, it's hard. My husband has family here, but it's my son's heavy and he's hard and he's a lot of work. So it's not like we can just call them to even babysit or get a night away. Yeah, right. Like it's not going to happen. So, so we like now that he's a little bit older, we've utilized like the respite camps where it's just like a 24-hour thing where he goes Saturday morning and we pick him up Sunday afternoon, and we just get like 24 hours without him to be able to go do whatever. So that's a support for us.
An important support for you guys to have that break and take care of your mental health and your relationships.
Yeah. And otherwise, we have one babysitter. She's a college student. She's a daughter of a person that I worked with. Originally she wanted to do it because she was going to go to nursing school, and I was like, well, this is great, you should do this. So, but now she's not going to go to nursing school, but she's doing something else, a different degree. But anyway, she's been great. I mean, that's been pretty much our only babysitter, and so that's been huge for us. But she's getting older and she's graduating already, so we need to find somebody else. But yeah, it's hard because even that, it's like we talk all the time, like we really need to find somebody else because she's getting older and she's gonna, I don't know, get married and go have her own kids and stuff. So she's not gonna be around for us forever. So, but it's hard because it's like, but who's gonna want to, and who's going to be able to like give all the care that he needs. So it's hard to find that. So.
Well, it looks like you've done a good job. You've found a lot of really great resources, and you're definitely getting out of the house and just living life. What would you say? Would you have any other advice for parents that are navigating this to help them live a full, meaningful life?
Well, honestly, we try not to let his struggles stop us from doing all the things we would have done. It does sometimes, like logistically, like how am I going to get him physically into this space? Or, so there are things that we do have to think about and really work around, but we're very big on like taking vacations, and we go, the bigger he gets, I'm sure the harder it's going to be because we physically carry him. Like we actually won it through the Hope for HIE group from one of their Christmas giveaways. We won We Carry Kevin backpack. And so it's like a hiking backpack that holds, I forget up to what pounds, 70 or 100 or something, like bigger kids. And so that's what we use now when we go places, because we like to go to national parks and state parks and go on hikes and get in the river. And we just try to do all those things, and we try to see those kinds of places because that's just what we enjoy. Like we like the outdoors. My kids like the outdoors. They love road trips. That's one thing. Like we don't take a lot of plane rides because more than half of the time that we have taken plane rides, they've broken parts of his wheelchair, and it's a hassle to be in a place with a broken wheelchair. And yeah, they fix it eventually, but I can't. Like, for instance, we took a Disney cruise last year, and we drove from Texas to Florida because the more we thought about it, we're like, well, I don't want to be stuck on a cruise with a broken wheelchair. I mean, how are they going to fix it when we're on a boat anyway? So it's like we had to drive because there's no way we could have taken the risk, and maybe it would have gotten there in one piece, but I don't trust that it will. So things like that, like we have to drive a lot, and we live in South Texas. So we drive like half of our trip is just getting out of Texas. So a lot of driving. But thankfully my kids are great in the car. They love road trips. So we really try to get out and be active in the community, even though it's hard. Like we have to stop a lot on the road. Like, I mean, with kids, period, you stop a lot, but like we stop even more. It's like we think we're all ready, and then an hour later, nope, you're gonna change somebody, or no, now he needs
the road trip itself is just a
but we
pre-adventure to your destination adventure.
So, but we just try not to. We just try to. That's just part of it. We just already know that's gonna happen, and we're like, it's just that is our life. So it's just not gonna. It's not going to stop. We don't let it stop us from going out and like what I would call like going on little adventures and like seeing new places and experiencing new things. We're always like planning our next thing. So yeah, we love to. I mean, for us, that's vacations. But we do things locally too. We just try to make sure we're active and anything that like he's not going to get to experience it unless we allow him to, or we provide that experience to him. So, and he loves it because he's so cognitively aware, especially like he knows that his little brother is playing t-ball, and he's like, when I want to play too, like he sees that, and so he wants to have those fun experiences too. And so we just really try to make it a point, especially now with the camps and things that we've gotten involved in. We try to go every year for at least one of the family camps or respite camps, or because that's something he can look forward to. So yeah, we're really big on not letting his challenges and his disabilities stop us from
that's wonderful
doing anything really.
That's wonderful
work.
Well, thank you for sharing. Any last advice that you would give to a parent that you wish you knew when you were starting this journey?
Just, I don't know, we just try to see the positive in things, even though it's hard and he's always going to struggle with things. We just really try to like choose joy and choose to still do things like that as a family. And I mean, I guess because I've already reached the point of acceptance, I already know this is my life and this is his life. And so I'm just going to make the best of it. And yeah, I know in the beginning, like I was really like everyone, you know, like I wanted, how can I fix this? How can I, like, what can I do to like make this better for him? And it's still like that. It's just in different ways. Like I already know he's not going to walk. He's not going to be an independent walker. He's not going to talk verbally. But I've already like accepted that. And so now it's just like, okay, well, what else can I do with this eye gaze device? What else can now? I just found out the other day he can control light switches. I always knew it had Bluetooth capability, but they're like, yeah, we can get him so he can turn on off the lights in his room. And I'm like,
Wow.
what? Like, so I'm like, there's always something coming up that I don't, and I'm always learning still, and just to try to make life better for him. So, but I don't see our life as like sad, or I don't know what the word is, but I don't see it as a bad thing anymore. I just I don't know.
This is your life and you're living it.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, we just make the most of it, and it is what it is, and we're enjoying it. So,
well, wonderful. That's what's important. Well, Shawn, thank you so much for joining me today and just talking about your journey. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Have a great day.
Thank you. You too.